Hi, it's me, Maggie Timber, and today Maggie Timber Explores. Today we are with a modern playwright, Timothy Braun. He is also a professor. We're in his office at St. Edward's University in Austin. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for having us. Well, if you don't mind, I would like to share the story of how we met.
Okay.
So, when I was 3, he was my mom's professor for college stuff. And I had to go to a class with her one day. And for that, the lesson that he taught was correlation does not always equal causation. And for that, he used My Little Pony, and anytime he would turn on the light, it would stop, and anytime he would turn off the light, it would keep playing, and it was really fun, in my opinion. Yeah.
You were a very good student that day. and you came up afterwards and thanked me for, the lecture, which nobody ever does. So I was very impressed with your behavior, even at the age of 3. Well, now you're here at St. Edward's University, and what do you want to know about the university or what I do here, or the questions you might have?
What exactly is a playwright?
All right. Have you ever seen a play before?
Once?
Yeah.
Twice?
You're on stage. It's like a movie, but it's live. It's right in front of you. And the playwright is the person who sits down and they actually write all the dialogue and what's going to happen on a piece of paper and hand it to the actors and the designers and the director. But basically, when you go see a movie, what was the last movie you saw?
Inside Out 2? No, Twisters. Twisters, yeah.
Well, Twisters. I had a feeling you had seen Twisters. So all those words like Glenn Powell, do you remember his catchphrase? He says, if you feel it, chase it. Well, he didn't write that line. The screenwriter writes down those words and then he memorizes them and then he finds ways to say them and make them as effective as possible. And that's essentially what a playwright does. We try to look at things like character motivations and we try to put together, it's sort of like putting together a blueprint, if you will, or of like a house for the actors and the director and the designers to build.
What piece have you written that you are the most proud of?
Probably, well, believe it or not, there are 2 answers I'm going to give you. One would be a play that I produced in Los Angeles a couple of months ago called Coney Island Land, and it's about 2 former high school lovers coming back together at the age of 50 after not seeing each other for 30 years and trying to relive just old feelings and say goodbye to each other. And I was really, really proud of that piece. And the reason why I was so proud of that piece is I worked very hard on it. I tried to make the characters as complicated and as messy as possible. I didn't want there to be any good guys or bad guys. Everybody is, have multiple layers to them and all those kinds of things. But here's the thing is that I got to produce that play and I got to make that play with my very best friends and people who I've known for 25 years. When it comes down to doing plays, there's not a lot of money involved. And so in the process, you should be able to do something that you love and you feel good about. And it just so happened that the lead actor has been my best friend for 25 years. The director, she and I have known each other for a long time and we're very close. And that's what I really enjoyed. But if you look up here, these 2 drawings are actually from the New York Times. The first one is the first essay that I wrote for the New York Times. And the second one is the second essay I wrote for the New York Times. And they were about my relationship with my dog. So that one was the pink one, was the one where I adopt my dog, and he and I watch movies and eat pizza together. And then the other one happened it's sad to say, if you can see, the dog is in the clouds now because he died only a couple of days before I got married. And so those are my 2 favorite essays. So I do write plays, of course, and they're screenplays, but when you say the things that I was really happy about, that one play in Los Angeles that just happened, and probably my New York Times.
What is the toughest part about being a playwright?
Now that is a really good question because it's all kind of tough. I think that when you're trying to sew together all of your ideas, and when you're trying to get these characters and the world coming together, and you just saw Inside Out 2, and that's a really interesting movie of where you have fascinating characters, but the world is really important too. It's not just these characters. You just can't take those characters and put them anywhere. It's got to be basically inside that teenage girl, right? And trying to get those to meld together, and that's the thing, if you will. Trying to get those two things to come together is really I think the toughest part. And then oftentimes when I'm working on a piece and I don't have collaborators yet, like actors I'm working with, then when you think you're ready to bring in the actors, you take a good look in the mirror and you go, who do I bring in now? Who do I ask to play with me, for lack of a better term? It's called playwriting for a reason. Who am I going to play with? Who am I going to pretend with? You know, it's like a game. So, and the good news is there's always lots and lots of people out there. But trying to just find that right mixture is pretty tough. It's fun, but tough.
How do you balance writing and being a professor?
So that one involves discipline. And I know that a lot of people don't want me to say something along those lines, but I get up early in the morning, I make my coffee the night before. I'm trying to drink less coffee. The older I get, my doctor says I shouldn't drink so much coffee. But I usually get up before the sun comes up, and I take my doggy, Brisket, for a walk, and I drink coffee, and I answer a couple of emails, and then I try to get some writing done before the whole day starts. Because when the day starts, chaos happens.
Chaos.
Whoa!
Yeah.
It's a big chaos monster. And what happens is, if I'm able to just try to get a little bit of writing done, and there is a playwright who lives in San Antonio named Mark Hillenbrand. He always says, if you can just get 2 pages done a day, and then let the chaos happen. Because once I get to school at 7 o'clock in the morning, I've got people knocking on the window, asking for chocolate. As I've told you, I'm on the first floor and I get to see all the students walk by. My department chair will come over here and say, hey, I need a document from you. Students, it's not rare for me to show up at 7 in the morning and the students be waiting for me at my front door right here because they need more notes on their plays or their screenplays. Or I also teach lots of weird and funky classes where you have to build like Spotify playlists and then write a paper about why you chose the songs. And that can really twist their brains around. And so that chaos happens. I need to get the writing done first, and then I can focus on the chaos. And then I get a good night's sleep and you do it all over again.
What inspired you to become a playwright?
This is another very good question. I was in college, so I had done some acting. I'm not much of an actor. I'm loud, but that's not acting. And I had done some acting in high school, and I got to college, and I knew I wanted to study a lot of stuff. And at one point in time, I think I had 3 or 4 majors, and I really needed to whittle it down. I only have 2 now. But I was reading a lot in history and philosophy and English, and I was still very interested in theater. And I was taking a script analysis class, and that is you're reading plays from ancient Greeks to Shakespeare to all these things. And what happened was I was avoiding doing my math homework, of course. And I started flipping around in my textbook to see all the different plays from script analysis. The big, thick textbooks where they make you buy the whole thing, but you only read a handful of the stories, and it's your mom probably remembers those kinds of things. What I decided to do was I was going to look at the plays that my professor wasn't teaching me, just out of curiosity. And I came across a play. I'll have a picture of this guy here. I came across a play by a guy named Sam Shepard. In fact, the Playwrights, who lives in San Antonio, made this for me. And Sam Shepard, he wrote plays that were unlike anything I had ever seen. They were about cowboys, and everything would happen, but kind of nothing's happening. They were violent and visceral, but they were also really sad and very personable. And I really liked this play that he wrote. And so I ran off to the library and I checked out all of his plays. And I read them all in one weekend. And I didn't know things could be like this. And so that started me saying, hey, I'm just going to try it. And I wrote my first play basically in one night. And as I wrote it, I didn't realize that time just went by like that. And I found out that playwriting was one of the only things I can do where, I can do it all day long and never get bored. I might have to get up from my computer and go for a walk, like we're going to go for a walk in a little while. I'm going to show you the whole campus. But it never feels like it's a chore, if you will. You know, do you have any chores around the house?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
And then homework.
It never feels like homework to me.
When did you write your first play?
I was 20.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And the first play, I showed it to my professor, and he liked it, and he was the head of the theater program at my university. Said, why don't we produce this? And it was just for a short run, not too long, but that's how it all started, basically.
Which of your plans would you consider the most successful and why? Or plays, not plans, sorry.
So, as your friendly neighborhood English professor, I like your question, and it focuses on, I think, successful. And I think that the most successful for me are the ones that only played for one night. I've been asked to do a lot of those kinds of things, but I like to do plays that are very small and intimate, and everything can be a theater, in my opinion. And one time I did a play in a bathtub, and I put the actors in the bathtub, and we brought in 3 people at a time into the bathroom to watch them act and do their thing. And I still have people telling me that was a really special thing that they saw. I did a play in a basically bombed out warehouse in East Austin. And to this day, I still have people coming to me saying, it only played for really like 2 weekends, if I'm correct. So I think those are the most successful. On the flip side to that, I have one play that was produced in Greece for 2 years. And I don't think it's a bad play. It ran for 2 years, but I've never had anybody send me an email saying, hey, this is really special, or hey, I remember thinking about that. I think for me, a really successful thing is if someone can come back to me 10 years later and say, I still remember that one thing you did, that one play, and I think about it all the time, or something like that. When I go back to my essays, again, the New York Times essay where I adopted Dusty, I sometimes get fan mail from that. I've gotten fan mail from Portugal and Canada, and you're a world traveler. I've been on your YouTube channel. And so, but the one that touched me the most was there's a woman in Half Moon Bay, California, and she took the physical copy of it and she laminated it. And she has it on her bookshelf. And on occasion, she emails me. And it's been over 10 years since that essay was published. And she says, I want to let you know that every once in a while, I take it off my bookshelf and I read it to my dog. And I thought, I think that's successful. It may not make a lot of money or something like that, but I think success is maybe being able to touch somebody in a positive way.
What legacy do you want to leave behind?
I was asked this question recently. I was actually, when I say recently, I was interviewed last November. I was in Muncie, Indiana, at Ball State University giving a guest lecture. And then people were asking me questions, and they said something along the lines of what legacy. And it took me a moment, but there was an actor named Matthew Perry who had just passed away. He was in a show called Friends. That, like, have you ever seen Friends or not? But in the 90s, it was huge. It was the biggest show. It was just really big. And what happened with this guy, it's very sad. He really struggled with addiction, but he kept fighting. And he kept going to rehab over and over and over again. He was very public about never giving up on him trying to be fighting his drug problem. And when he died, a woman wrote an essay for the newspaper, and she said, he completely changed my life because I have a problem with addiction, and I wanted to give up multiple times, but I kept seeing how he wasn't giving up, and he saved my life, and I've been sober for like 15 years now, something like that. And I thought, and she kind of ends this essay by saying, if for one thing, he saved my life, that one person. If I'm able to, in one way or another, between plays and stories and teaching, if I hopefully can just have one person, my legacy, just say, you changed my life for the better. It might be a small thing, like, how you unwrap chocolate. Or it might be a small thing like a younger professor coming in here and saying, oh, you have chocolates here. Maybe I should have chocolates too. And chocolate can be a huge thing when you're teaching, especially when you ever get like someone bad news, like you're not going to pass the class. You're going to have chocolate, something like that.
Take this. You already know the bad news.
But like the woman who laminated my story from the New York Times and reads it every once in a while with her dog, that's legacy as far as I'm concerned. That's there. I'm done. When it's time to move on, I can say, hey, I did that.
After the interview, we went to go check out the campus. My favorite thing about it was all the nature that was there. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to become a part of the Adventure family.